past 9 months, I've been 13 hours away from home in a totally foreign territory with a lot of new people and a lot of uncertainty. Hi everyone, Harris here, and I've had some time to reflect on my first year at school at Boston College, which isn't a college and isn't in Boston because it's technically a university slightly outside of Boston, but that's just semantics. Anyway, this is my third time filming this. The last one was in a lot better scenery. I've been doing a lot of thinking, but I want to redo it for some better audio. But this is what I've learned both in the classroom and outside of the classroom for these past 9 months in my first year at college. And if you'll just stick around for a few seconds, the sponsor for this video, Skillshare, hooked me up with a free trial to their online video classes. And for all of the things that I don't want to dedicate a whole class to at school, I'm definitely going to be watching Skillshare videos. They want to give you a free trial. Just use the link in the description for thousands of hours worth of tutorials online to learn anything that you might want to know. I've already been watching a lot on animations. Check the link down in the description. So I want to get through the boring part first, and then we'll get to the more sentimental things. So in my computer science class, I realized that, well, computer science is hard. I wish that my high school had more computer science options and for a longer period of time, but I think they're coming around to that. Anyway, I realized that computer science might not be for me, which was weird because for years I've just defaulted to computer science. I like technology, I want to make a lot of money someday, and so I've said computer science, and it sounds cool and it sounds impressive. But I've come to the conclusion that just because I thought this was for me doesn't mean it has to be, and I've really come around to the fact that maybe this isn't, and I'm not giving up on it entirely, but there's a decent chance I'll be changing my major and adding a different major. So that's what I definitely learned from computer science. Additionally, I learned that you shouldn't take a class just because you know people in that class. I didn't switch teachers in computer science second semester because I knew the people in there. And while yes, it was beneficial and we helped each other out and it was more comfortable, I really didn't enjoy the teacher. And I think that if I had changed my teachers and not been worried about who was in the classroom, that I would have had more success in that classroom. That's just something to note for myself for future years. The professor is more important than who's in the class, at least for some classes. In calculus, I learned a little bit of calculus, I guess, but mostly I learned that in college, professors aren't going to go out of their way to get to know you, but office hours are a great way not only just to get to know your professor, which is definitely going to help the dynamic in the classroom, but also a fantastic way to get help. I realized that there were assignments that I was drowning in, and I was trying to do it on my own. I didn't know anybody in my class or anybody taking the same Calc 2 class, but going into office hours and having real questions helped me so much with my assignments, and things that I was drowning in, I swam to the surface with the help of my professor, and things really turned around. So going into next year, I absolutely am setting a goal of going to office hours once a week, whether I have a question or not. Either getting help or getting to know my professor more is absolutely going to be beneficial, and there's a reason they have office hours. In Spanish, I learned that you should always take a look at your options and know what you can and can't do. I have a language requirement, and I love languages, and I think Spanish is an incredible language, and I want to know it, but I wasn't ready for it. And the language counselor or whatever at my school really kind of forced it on me, which I should have just said no and waited a little bit. And if I would have looked into it, I could have seen that I could have tested out of the Spanish class with the Spanish SAT if I did well enough. So if I would have practiced that, I could have saved money on the textbook, I could have saved time, stress, and I could have saved a bad grade on my transcript. So know your options and don't be forced into a class if you don't have to. You know yourself better than a generic language counselor who is just assigning things for hundreds and hundreds of students. All right, and then outside of the classroom, I learned that change is awesome. So I went 13 hours away to school, and I never imagined staying in state for school. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with staying in state for school or going local, because it could still be a great fit for you. But I've learned that change is important in life, and this was an opportunity that I could force change on myself in a way that wasn't that difficult. In a sense, it wasn't difficult to get that change. Going this far away, I was forced into this change, and that was awesome because I realized, and I've had this conversation with my friends, you won't change as a person if you don't change anything. And so for anything that I didn't like about myself, or anything that I wanted to do differently, or any aspect of my life that I wasn't happy with, nothing was going to change if I kept living the same life I did in high school. Any friendships or relationships that weren't good in high school, those aren't going to change if I'm not doing anything differently. So for me, going far away to school allowed me to see new people, to have new priorities, and to make myself who I want myself to be. So it's so important for me to realize that I am not going to change if I don't change anything. So it was awesome to be somewhere new, to experience new people, and to have new feelings, and to realize that I am in control of who I am over there, and I can carry that back home. But I worried that if I stayed home, I wasn't going to be able to improve and change for the better as a person. I would have been stuck with my same habits and the same tendencies and not really be able to break out of that shell. I learned that I'm not better than anybody. So in high school, I did decently well in my classes and my grades, but in college, I'm the bottom. Like, I'm pretty much the bottom of my class in terms of my GPA rank right now and stuff like that. And I do hope that goes up, but it was humbling. So I realized that there's a lot of people that are faster than me in running. There's a lot of people that are much smarter than me, and it's encouraging. But I also realized that in the first semester, as I kind of struggled with friends, I realized that be that person that reaches out. When I'm feeling lonely and wishing that somebody would just want to hang out with me sometimes, be that person to invite somebody else, or step out of your comfort zone and just ask to hang out with somebody else. Most people are actually pretty nice, and they won't mind or care if you hang with them. And if you're not annoying, then who cares? So that's awesome, and people are generally pretty nice if you give them a try. So step out of your comfort zone, either asking people to hang so that you feel included, or asking people to hang so they feel included. Either way, you can work together, and you never know what kind of relationships and friendships are going to come out of it. So I learned that college, you can do a lot of things. You can do whatever you want, and that's for the good or bad. You know what I mean. But I realized, though, that the momentum and the trajectory that you leave high school with going into college, that is what's going to mostly define your first year of college. So say you left high school partying a lot, or say you left high school reading a lot, or whatever the activity is, running a lot, or writing. When you get to college, you're going to be carrying that momentum, and in college, you can take your ambitions and you can take your interest to the next level, because there are clubs and groups and organizations and funding and just so many opportunities at college that whatever your trajectory was in high school, that's really going to be amplified in college. And for me, I was satisfied that I left high school with a taste for curiosity, for growing a little bit and wanting to read and to learn more, especially in philosophy. And I found that when I got to college, I was able to just amplify that and really become who I am. So I guess advice for incoming college students would be that be intentional with what you do in high school, because when you get to college, whatever way you're kind of going, there's a good chance that that is really where you go in college. Of course, you can change that, but I do think it's much easier to keep doing what you're doing in high school when you get to college, because there's so many options and freedom. Then I also learned that college shapes you. Like, who I am right now is different than who I was a year ago. I changed more in college than I did in probably my 4 years of high school. Maybe not physically, but just emotionally and spiritually. And people think that college is a bubble. You do whatever you want in college and you come out of it and then you start your real world. Well, I think the real world starts in college, when you have to decide when you want to start eating, when you decide if you want to exercise ever or never. There's no gym requirement in college. So, I guess another piece of advice for anybody going into college, it's not a bubble. It's a time to start developing who you are and growing as an individual towards who you want to be. And that kind of brings me into the last thing I want to talk about. I took some philosophy classes this year, and I love that. I've always been someone who takes faith in philosophy and just different perspectives seriously. Like, I want to know the truth. I kind of want to know why we're here and all of these things. And everybody watching this has thought before, why are we here? Or had some existential question or something about the universe, because that's just human nature and we're full of questions. And that's why college was so cool, because I got to take a philosophy class. Boston College is a Catholic school, so there is a philosophy and theology requirement. And so for my freshman year, I took a 6-credit class for philosophy and theology called Perspectives, and we read Aristotle and Plato and Augustine and the Bible and Machiavelli and Hobbes and Locke and all these great thinkers, and it was so cool to see all these different perspectives. So like I said, college is about choices and decisions and moving in one direction or another, and I've learned my freshman year that that is a very Aristotelian concept, because everything that we do is aiming at some purpose or another. So the question would be, where are we aiming? The first sentence of Aristotle's Nicomachean's Ethic is every art or applied science and every systematic investigation, and similarly every action and choice, seems to aim at some good. The good, therefore, has been well defined as that at which all things aim. That was pretty dense for me, and I didn't realize the significance of that statement and the 2,000 years of philosophy that followed after that. But after rereading this book several times and talking about it a lot, it makes sense. Everything that we do is for a purpose. Whether we really realize it or not, why would we do anything if it has no purpose? And that doesn't really make any sense. So as I'm thinking forward, what am I doing and why am I doing it? What purpose is this doing? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it helping me grow? Or is it making me shrink as an individual? If I'm intentional about all the things I do, and I know where I want it to take me, and I know who I want to be, then I can be a much more virtuous person, and I've certainly learned that. Now, one of my favorite excerpts I read all year was from Blaise Pascal, the same guy who did Pascal Triangle. Like, who knew he also did philosophy and theology. He said, "Man is only a reed, the weakest in nature, but he is a thinking reed. There is no need for the whole universe to take up arms to crush him. A vapor, a drop of water is enough to kill him. But even if the universe were to crush him, or to kill man, man would still be nobler than his slayer, because he knows that he is dying and the advantage of the universe has over him. The universe knows none of this. Thus, all our dignity consists in thought. It is on thought that we must depend for our recovery, not on space and time, which we could never fill. Let us then strive to think well. That is the basic principle of morality." And I like that a lot. The universe can crush us in so many ways, but we will be aware that we're being crushed. The universe has no idea. What separates us is that we can think, and that we should think well and strive to think as well as we can. Anyway, those are my thoughts for my first year at college. I'm really looking forward to growing more academically, spiritually, athletically, whatever it is next year. But thank you for watching this journey. Let me know your thoughts. This has been a bit of a ramble, and make sure you check out Skillshare. I genuinely am using this service right now, and I can't wait to learn whatever I want to with these awesome videos. Check the link in the description for a free trial. Thanks for watching.